Sorry, we're going to try that again. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our CRA, our Community Redevelopment Agency hybrid regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 14th. It is 5:37 p.m. Call the roll, please.
Chair James,
Here.
Vice Chair Salvino,
Here.
Board Member Davis,
Here.
Board Member Llewellyn,
Here.
Board Member Odman,
Here.
CRA Director Chen,
Here.
City Attorney Boots is
Here. Thank you. This is the time for citizens' comments. If there is anyone no, there's no one there. If anyone would like to speak as a citizen, you have 3 minutes to do so. And if you are online, if you can use your raise the hand tool to be recognized. Seeing as there is no one, we'll go right to administrative reports.
Thank you, Chair James, Vice Chair Salvino, and board members. And welcome to all the people who attended. I'd like to start with an update on our innovation ecosystem, specifically our Dania Beach Business Academy concluded the first-time homebuyer program. The fourth session had 52 online participants, and the entire program attracted 81 registrations. The fourth session was particularly important and valuable to future low-income home buyers. It featured housing representatives from Broward County and Miami-Dade County who provided information about low-income and workforce affordable programs that the two counties have. So that will be particularly valuable to our Academy attendees. In terms of the CRA budget, we had a workshop last week, September the 6th, and that is the result of that is on tonight's agenda for action. Dania After Dark, the September 10th Dania After Dark was featured Good Rabbit for the opening band and the VAM band as the headliner. Once the day's heat broke in the mid-evening, it was an extremely pleasant experience in Saturday. So I hope all of you had a chance to be there. For economic development activities, our business attraction and investment attraction manager continues to make business risk and value operation visits. That's an acronym for BRAVO. The idea, again, of those BRAVO visits is to try to develop relationships with our businesses so that we can better coordinate what their needs are and be responsive to develop programs to help them. I won't go through the list of all of them, but there is one that I want to especially draw your attention to. The Special Needs Group, which is just to the north of City Hall, 302 Northwest 1st Street. This is one of the region's largest suppliers of physically challenged apparatus for cruise ships and travel passengers, as well as visiting people who have these challenges and need special apparatus for hotels and so forth. They've embarked in a whole new line of their business, let's say literally expanding their business. They are working with the Virgin Galactic Space Group to develop practices, policies, and apparatus for future space travelers who have physical challenges. And that's all happening here in Dania Beach. I found that to be extremely interesting and exciting news coming out of Dania Beach. There was a question raised about some traffic counts along Sterling Road. We did do that research. Basically, around the Sterling Road area, from Ravenswood to I-95, you're looking at roughly 42 to 44,000 traffic visits a day or passenger cars a day. I wanted to bring to your attention one of the first MOUs that was approved by the CRA upon my arrival was an agreement with the Alliance of Entrepreneurial Resource Organizations. The acronym is ARROW. And ARROW is made up of basically every entrepreneurial resource resource organization in Broward County. And I'm proud to announce that we are the host of the annual expo. And at the end, in your binders, you will find the flyer for the Business Resource Expo that will be held here in City Hall on September 28th. There is I guess about half the flyer shows the logos and so forth of the agencies who will be actively participating in that expo. And pre-COVID, this annual expo used to attract upwards of 300 to 325 aspiring entrepreneurs and new businesses to see the resources available in Broward County. This is being hosted here in City Hall. I mentioned in our last meeting about the Florida Festivals and Events Association and the fact that the 2022 Arts and Seafood Festival received several awards. We have a little bit more definition on this. I mentioned that both Kathleen and Keisha had attended that conference to receive that armload of awards on behalf of the CRA and the event. But basically, we received 5 first place awards. We received 4 second place awards and 1 third place award. These 10 awards add to our collection. Now the CRA has over 45 of these festival event awards to brag about. And congratulations, Keisha and Kathleen. Great job on the Arts and Seafood Festival. The Patch is gearing up for its fall growing program. And one of the things that was raised in question at one of our previous meetings about how active the Patch has been in more recent times. So we actually did a count, and I have provided this information to you. In June, the Patch had 22 volunteers. In July, the Patch had 20 volunteers, and in August, they had 34 volunteers. So in fact, yes, the Patch is up and running on a regular basis, and they're very actively engaged in volunteers. We'd like to recognize that Nike at Dania Point is one of our newest additions to the volunteer list. We are also welcoming back the Nova Southeastern University students as volunteers to the Patch. I mentioned that we were in the process of developing our fall season growing program. We're working with a consultant to develop the growing recommendations to expand and enhance the productivity of the Patch for the fall. And this was made possible in part by the Spirit Charitable Foundation grant that was received. We are also working to revamp the prescription RX program with Memorial Hospital. And in fact, we've been approached by Chen Medical Group to also expand to them as well. They want to participate in this prescription RX program, which is basically to deliver healthy foods to our communities. There are continuing demand for Patch educational tours, and Urban Health Partnerships, which has been a long-term relationship with the Patch, is continuing to be an enthusiastic supporter and engaged participant in Patch activities. Would like to point out that the Grow City Youth Educational Program, the Patch is supporting that effort. We've been working and sending people from the Patch to give information and lectures about growing opportunities and so forth to these programs. We brought in some regional experts on various subjects dealing with food, from chefs to church leaders and Cub Scout packs. Again, with the idea of being an active educational resource on healthy foods and farming, community farming in our area. And again, this program, the Grow City Youth Educational Program, is provided by funding by the Community Foundation of Broward County and the Frederick DeLuca Foundation. thank you to those resources. With that, I'd like to provide a brief slide presentation for some clarity on the items on your consent agenda. So if I may, Monica, if you could initiate the slide program, please. Thank you. Next slide, please. I just want to make a couple of quick comments and observations about the 2023 budget proposal in general. The total proposed budget is $3,030,000, which is generated with 1.4, I guess, $1,482,000 from the general fund. Would like to point out that this budget process was started by the CRA at the April 26th CRA budget workshop. So we actually had input from you to initiate what we thought to be programs that were being requested and priorities that were being sought by you from that forum. Would like to point out that our $3,030,000 proposed budget is $419,000 less than the fiscal 22 budget that you adopted. We also will conduct some analysis to examine the possibility of enacting fees at our arts and seafood program. That was a suggestion recently brought up. This sounds like a very interesting thing to explore. And then the final piece on the summary of this is that the budget we have proposed has money for every project, program, and so forth that is described by you as interested in priorities by the board. And we're doing more with less money in fiscal year 23. And with that, the CRA team will continue this. We'll lead off with Kathleen. Next slide, please.
Good evening, CRA board members. Kathleen Weeks, CRA operations manager.
Closer to the mic, please.
The at-home Dania Beach residential program was developed in 2018, and it was developed to provide affordable homes and also residential beautification. The program has been successful with respect to beautification and also with respect to providing affordable homes. The CRA developed 6 homes for first-time home buyers in Dania Beach, CRA area, and also so far we have done over 100 homes. We have done repainting and minor landscaping for over 100 homes in our residential neighborhoods. The program is being implemented by our consultants. They are rebuilding together Broward County, and we are working as fast as possible to do as many homes as possible. For 2022, we completed so far 25 homes, and we expect to have 40 homes completed by November 2022. On the budget, we have an estimate of $120,000 for the 2023 budget. That's an increase because of the cost of painting and doing the minor landscaping for the homes. The fact that costs have gone up, so it's a little bit increased from what we presented in 2022, but we are going to be doing 40 homes, and we look forward to working with Rebuilding Together Broward County on those homes. Next slide, please. So the CRA at Home Dania Beach program also, as I said, we have been working towards affordable housing. The CRA has 16 properties in the Dania Beach CRA area. And there are 3 unbuildable lots which are going to be allocated as parks, and the CRA will be working with the Parks and Recreation Department of the city to create these parks. Those are 3 unbuildable lots. And we do have right now a RFP out regarding the sale of one of our properties, 501, 509, 511 Northeast 3rd Terrace. We do have 12 buildable lots, which we are hoping to develop workforce and affordable housing on. And I believe at the board's workshop last week, there was a discussion about having a special workshop to review those lots and to determine how those lots will be um, sold or implemented for affordable housing. Thank you. Next slide.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, city staff, members of the public. Um, this part of the presentation, excuse me, I'm Keisha Eugene, Strategic Communications Representative for the Dana Beach CRA. This portion of the presentation pertains to the Arts and Entertainment Innovation Project, to which there's a budget request of $225,600. Of that 225 plus $1,000, 50,000 is allocated to the Complete Streets Infrastructure Engineering Plan. What that includes is infrastructure engineering for drainage, underground utilities, lighting, curb appeals, sidewalks, etc. The focus of that complete street area is West First Ave from Southwest First Street to Northwest First Street. Now, if you need a visual reference or a physical reference, you can think of where we do Dania After Dark or Grandpa's leading up to the Fish Grill. Okay. Of that, we know that the city has allocated about $500,000 for the infrastructure construction. Next slide, please. This entertainment, arts and entertainment district is I guess you would call it the epicenter for the Complete Streets project, right? And Dania After Dark connects to that, where we're requesting $105,600 for that area. And that event, we've already added a tent for shelter, the 20 by 60 tent, in the event of any inclement weather. And then we have the idea to source for better entertainment at that event, add some seasonal themes, and incorporate new art businesses within the event. Now, Dania After Dark being the key component of the Complete Streets project for this, the goal is to activate, next slide, the back of the house buildings on Federal Highway to the Arts District. So of that 225 plus $1,000, 70,000 would be allocated to that urban plan design, where the goal is to have, next slide, so next slide, next slide. Yeah, so the goal is to have outdoor cafes, lighting and landscape, and create an alternate entryway in that corridor for the arts and entertainment district. And you have some visuals there of what the plans may look like. And I'm going to pass it on to Bill. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, city attorney, city clerk. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so you can see from the first slide that the amount budgeted is for the CRA satellite office and for the incubator and its operating expenses. Next slide. You can see from the rendering that what we're also trying to do is increase our brand awareness on Federal Highway. So you can see that both sides of the building will be branded with our brand, the See It, Live It, Love It brand that we've been working on for 4 or 5 years now. And it will have the easy access and good exposure for everyone along Federal Highway there, and it's about 75,000 cars a day. We'll also have a place to meet face to face when developers or members of the public come in there. We'll have a conference room where we can meet. And then the front windows on the building, excuse me, we can use for promotion of Dania After Dark, arts and seafood, or anything else that's going on in the city. And we could maybe at some point include more art in there from the elementary schools and display some artwork for some of the kids. And so it's going to be a place to meet, and it will have a very, very good presence right on Federal Highway. So the whole purpose of the incubator is to create jobs and wealth gathering opportunities across the city, which is a critical element of the affordable housing challenge. So as long as we're out there, oh, sorry, next slide. Sorry. Next, there you go. So the opportunities are endless when we partner up with our agencies and FIU, so we'll have a good representation of what we want to see in our city in the future. And it's going to make it more inclusive, so anybody can come by the CRA office. That's it. Thank you. Oh, last slide. You can change it. Monica, next slide, please. Well, you can see from, I took that picture the other night from the 4th floor of the parking garage, so you can see the magnitude of that building. It's a pretty good size. I think it's 370 units, and it should start leasing by next spring, I've heard. And the budget request and the reimbursement for the developers of that building is $666,000, which is in the budget also. Next slide. Is that it? Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, no. Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Other than I can. You all right? All right. I have a few questions. Just a few, I guess. All right. So this is all for the entire budget for both items, Mr. Jim. Before I start asking my questions, because I don't want to.
No, what we tried to do was identify some of the major projects that you talked about at our budget hearing, and to identify the different types, the different line items of our budget that are contributing to those specific programs that you asked about. So there was a lot of conversation about the Arts and Entertainment District. We took all the line items that have activities associated with that Arts and Entertainment District to lump it together as requested. So you can see how those were working together for that accomplishment.
Right. I'm asking, is this it before we go to the consent agenda? Like, do we?
Yes.
Okay, I'll discuss it. All right. Just to preface everything, like you said in your reports that the budget began when we did this in April. And I'm going to reiterate, it's September. It's about 5 months after that, and I have some CRA projects that I'm going to ask tonight that I deferred from the budget workshop to have in here, and it would have been nice that we would have had consideration of any of our projects that we may want to see as board members here. And I'm going to be asking the following questions because it is the duty of our board to be able to go and speak to our residents and make sure that we understand where these monies are going to, and make sure that we have done our due diligence and have a comprehensive plan for all of the CRA functions. Um, there are a lot of gaps and there are not a lot of details, and we can't overlook this. I hear us constantly say like it's too late, just pass it and deal with it later. I don't. I have a difficult time operating like that. That's not the standard. Um, and I know that I'm not really satisfied with it because I have a standard and I hold everybody to that standard. I call everybody and ask a million questions about everything, and I expect the person that we hire to be knowledgeable and to understand what we're doing here. And so I'll start with, I guess, I'll ask Frank because I keep seeing that there's a decrease in this budget. But I'm not understanding how there's a 12% decrease when we're asking for more money in 2023. Like I heard Mr. Chin say it's a $420,000 decrease and we're doing more with less. But what is the actual number? Because I don't want to play semantics and just throw numbers around. Um, what was the budget? Not just the request. What was the actual CRA's budget last year and this year? Because if we're using all of reserves for that budget, that money is added to the budget, is it not? I know it's kind of low.
It's on. It's on now, right? Okay. Good evening, everyone. And I guess that last year was a bit of an anomaly because there was a lot of carryover from the prior year because the COVID year really didn't have a lot of expenditures. So there was a pretty significant carryover of the prior year's leftover budget. That was all well, a lot of that was appropriated. And in the last year, I believe we had $1 million in the budget for the Tryon project. We only ended up receiving 333,000 of that. So that's one of those things that kind of artificially inflates the budget because it's not an ongoing recurring revenue and expenditure. So you can see a decrease because of something like that being absent in the next year's budget. So I mean that was just one thing. I don't have the 22 budget right in front of me right now, but I know that most of the line items that were in there in the current year are being for all the programs that are continuing are being re-requested at very similar or same amounts, like arts and seafood and the home rebuilding program that's actually increased a little bit. But there's also some reshuffling of funds where there were projects that were being. And I would ask Mr. Chen to please elaborate more on that. But some of the funding was being redirected for some different initiatives, like the Arts and Entertainment District and the Federal Highway Incubator and so on.
If we are void of any reserves now, and that reserves money is being carried over to the actual budget, isn't that an increase of the budget? Although, like, it's $0 in the reserves, correct?
Yeah, everything is being appropriated in this 23 budget.
Okay, and so that number realistically has to be higher because there's $0 in the reserves. If the request was the same or less, and you have to do you not add that reserves as a part of it? I just feel like it's very deceptive.
Yeah, that's included in the budget. So actually, there's two things in the current year that, and one of them is going to carry over. But you have the Tryon, we budgeted for that $1 million. Then you also have the $500,000 for the Smith store money that was transferred from the Capital Projects Fund into the CRA fund that was appropriated for land purchase. That wasn't spent this year. That's being reappropriated. So that's one of those things that's also not going to be an ongoing, recurring thing unless we just keep reappropriating and don't spend it. But you can remove some of those things and drill it down to what the real budget is when it comes to the personnel costs. You know, you have 4 full-time staff plus some part-time. And then when you add up all the other operating expenditures that are going to be ongoing recurring programs, that really is your core budget. And when you have a budget that just for the CRA fund, the 106 fund is $2.8 million, 1.2 million of that is reappropriated reserves. Then you have of that 1.2 million, half a million is for the Smith store money that was run. So it's really like $700,000 of actual appropriation of reserves. When you add that to what the general fund is contributing, now you're at about 2.2 million. You don't have that 700,000 to reappropriate again in 24 budget. So somehow there's gonna be a gap in there that's gonna have to be made up either by additional funding from the city general fund or by a reduction of expenditures in the CRA. So that's something to think of. I think that maybe kind of what you're asking is we're reappropriating this money, but then we don't have any more to reappropriate later. There's no more reserves to
It's
rely
just
on.
misleading. If I had $2 and I had $1 in my savings account, and if I, say, okay, I'm not going to ask the city for $2 this time. I'm going to use that $1 I had in my savings. It's misleading. To me, it is, but it's semantics. I'm trying to visualize where all of the reserves money went, and if it went to this budget, then how can this be less? That's how my brain is kind of trying to function with that, and so that's I guess that's what my ask was because I don't really understand it. And then the incubator, I have a question about that because I see that it says $75,000, but on the breakdown in the back it really equals to $81,000. Is that a number?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm looking at your backup. It says it's 5,500 times 12, which is $66,000.
No,
And then
excuse me. It is $5,000 per month in the lease,
mhm.
and then the additional $500 a month is additional repeating expenses such as the secure internet connection, which is $250 a month. I just estimated there may be some other unidentified expenses, so that's why it's there at 5,500 a month. But the actual lease to this, as reflected here for $60,000, that is the actual lease amount.
Okay, I'm just going off of what you have in your backup. That's all I can.
And as far as
It's on page 24 of the backup when it says monthly membership Tennessee costs. It has that breakdown of all of it. So that's why I'm not just asking out of anywhere. That's what I saw. Okay, so it's not 81 and 75, although it's different.
well, it's broken out at the end. This was no attempt at um, deception. The monthly costs are broken down in my memo to you, and it's broken down as monthly cost versus one-time cost. In terms of the slide, what you saw, it's broken down in terms of the actual lease cost versus operational cost, which is a bit different way to look at it, but it's the same money going toward it. And there's no change in that.
Okay. How will the arts and entertainment district be activated? I'm hearing a lot of things that I've heard from the city side that they were saying that they were going to do. So I'm still trying to find that separation of duties. We spoke about the city doing the outdoor dining and spending those funds towards that, and then I see the outdoor dining on this presentation. And so are these a duplicate of efforts? Are you guys putting your monies together? I see the city manager shaking her head no. But I want to be clear on what's the duties and responsibilities because I don't want to get into a phase to where this is the CRA's project and they want to do things a certain way. But the city is saying this. So I don't know where the separation is coming from.
If I may, Mayor? I think the key here is to work together. This is not about what the CRA is doing or what we're doing. It's about our goals based on our adopted strategic plan. Michael and I and Candido and Bill met at length this week because I wanted to provide clarity and I don't want there to be misinformation. You know, we have different styles, but at the end of the day, what's the goal and what's the objective based on your priorities? So the $50,000 that the CRA is allocating.
No,
in
this is a
budget.
70,000 for outdoor dining.
Okay, let me do the 50,000 first, and then Michael can elaborate on the 70. So the 50,000 is strictly for engineering. So that's the first phase. Once that engineering report is completed, then we can look at your streets, your sidewalks, your lighting fixtures. So it needs to start, the baton needs to start with this engineering plan. And I believe, Michael, that's the 50,000 that you have allocated. Because before any construction can start, we need to be able to have the assessment of that area that we're talking about. So the 70,000 that, and Mike could speak better than I on it, is a focus on activating the back of the house. Because of the fact that we cannot have parking on Federal Highway, the majority of the cars just pass by. So our goal is, how do we get those individuals, those people, those vehicles, that traffic on the west side? And what we discuss is, well, not only are we going to look at the art and entertainment district and how we look at that street from a pedestrian friendly and making it sexy for people to come, and we're going to be doing wayfinding signs and other things that we are exploring from some of the conversations that I have had, for example, with Commissioner Davis, to market our city more. But that 70,000 is to activate the back of the house, to bring more value to all those properties, but to be able to create that excitement that will like it in the front on Federal, but activate it in the back.
Okay, I'm just asking, is that part of it going to be them? And I know you guys are working together, but this is what I heard the last time when you all said that we were going to do outdoor dining with the ARPA money. And so if we're doing it with the ARPA money, why are we putting $70,000 in the CRA budget?
But these are separate things. Um, because in order to be able to do the outdoor dining, there needs to be an investment to study the space. The space behind an existing facility, an existing restaurant, needs to be assessed in regards to, is all the parking going to go away? Is it going to be some parking and it's going to be no parking
So the $70,000 is for an assessment.
of the entire area that he mentioned?
Okay, so
And
that's
then
what
we
your
come,
project is, an assessment.
I'm sorry. Well, yes, I guess that is, again, we are on the same page of this. There's not a mixed message with this. The Complete Streets project is the public side of it. The connection that we're talking about for that $70,000 is, how do we tie the private properties to our Complete Streets project so that in fact they are an operational part of the environment. It is, how do we design, I guess, mixed options for those property owners to look at and say, okay, I want this kind of design on my back door. Another one may want a different type of design on their back door. Some of them have restaurants. They will want cafe space. Some of them aren't having restaurants, but they'll do other type of space to be attached to the Complete Streets corridor.
his money is
Okay,
going to
if
be how it can
if
work.
it's for an assessment, I just would say assessment, and then we can keep it there. I want to make sure that the money that we're putting here, though, is for an assessment. Don't tell me it's for an assessment and then we do something different. So if it's for an assessment, I have no issues. I just want to know what the money is for.
Right. With the 70,000 and the 50,000 is to assess the whole area.
So assessment and engineering.
Correct. And then we come back after that is done and say, okay, we can loan X amount of money here, X amount of money there, to be able to activate the full potential of everything that is on the arts and entertainment district. Not just what we're doing at City Hall and all our events and the actual streets and sidewalks, but going all the way to the business as well.
So the 70,000. So you'll come back for additional money to loan people. That's not this 70,000, correct, Mr. Chen?
No, that is not the 70,000. This is only to provide options so that the private property owners can see options and opportunities for connecting to the public work that's being done on the street.
Okay, I'll move on. How does the business incubator help affordable housing? I heard that up here.
Well, affordable housing is a two-sided coin. One is the cost of housing. And in fact, we have heard Broward County is one of the most disparate counties in the entire country for affordable housing challenges. And it's not because our real estate is the most expensive, because it's not. What it is, affordable housing is a function of the cost of real estate versus the wages in the area. All right, it's a two-sided coin. So one thing is we want to address the housing stock and opportunities for low cost housing, but we also can help more people by finding ways to increase the household income, which offsets the cost of the real estate for their homes. So the incubator is a business activator. It draws in new businesses with new jobs and new wages that frankly can raise the household incomes across the entire CRA, if not the city. That increased household income is a massive way to help overcome the challenges of affordable housing. And this incubator actually focuses on low income individuals, challenged neighborhoods, minority businesses, women owned businesses, Hispanic owned businesses. People who are most challenged economically is what this focus is for the incubator.
Okay, and then with the incubator, what are the stipulations of the graduates that do they have to have the business in Dania Beach?
No, they don't. But with the incubator being in Dania Beach, we will participate in the cohorts with FIU, and it will be our job to work on convincing them that Dania Beach is the right place for them to do their startup. And frankly, considering our position, all right, never mind that we're a city of 35,000 people. We are a dynamo in the regional economy. I am absolutely sure I've heard everyone at this dais talk about Dania Beach in the terms of we are the front door of the Fort Lauderdale International Airport. We're the front door of Port Everglades. All right. These are the primary economic engines of the region, and we're here. And we're an ideal location for startup businesses because not because we're the cheapest place in the entire county, but we're the cheapest place in the market that is going to drive their business.
Okay. On the slide, it said that I think it says something about this being the location where you can uh, get all of this information of the city and how it operates and everything else. Who are we going to have city staff there? That's
Yes, we'll have CRA staff that's the primary. And if the city has a need for someone to be there to assist, we can certainly accommodate that. But it is a CRA office first, and then a host for the incubator second.
I know, but I was asking on the slide where it says like all these different opportunities of the city, and it just spoke about things of the city. So I was just asking.
Okay, well, I will tell you, yes, we are the CRA, but we talk about the advantages of the city overall. I mean, we talk about Dania Beach as a hub of the mega center of the metro area, the Tri-County metro area. We put out maps that shows our geographic position within the Tri-County area, all right? The CRA is not just marketing the CRA, we're marketing the entire city and our economy and our proximity to the economic engines that drive South Florida. That's what we're doing. And that all gets publicized, it's part of our programming for this CRA office. And it's part of the information that we're publishing right now. Right? I've mentioned on any number of occasions that we're starting to create a series of publications and flyers that talk about what our market is, what our economy is. And that's all part of the story we have to tell. And it's part of what gets sold out of this incubator and that office.
Okay, I would like when this incubator is up and running, for it also to be included on the U.S. Department of Energy's website. That's something that you sold to us, like because it's the first in the nation. Is that something that we can get done?
Well, I can check with that. This discussion has been in the context of FIU because FIU has a contract with the Department of Energy to initiate and open these incubators. Okay, that conversation we can find out if FIU can make that request.
Okay. I didn't see the Tryon in this budget. Is it?
Yes.
Are we finished with the payments
No.
on it?
The last slide that was Bill's.
I didn't see it in the
part.
budget, not on the slideshow. The
Okay.
actual budget.
The budget for the Trion / Celeste for this year is $667,000. That's the remaining part of their Broward County contribution.
I know. I said, where is it in the budget? Is my question.
It's in the current year budget because we anticipated that that payment would be made this year. We still have a couple weeks left in the fiscal year. If the developer completes whatever milestone is necessary, that could be earned in this year. If not, then it'll get rolled over and it'll be reappropriated into next year's budget. But it's an in and an out. It's money in from the county and we pay it out to the developer. So it really has no bearing on the CRA budget itself.
Okay. Okay. So it's because it's usually always in that CRA budget, and now it's not in the budget. And that's another thing that I'm having a hard time with. If we're saying that this budget is so much lower, but we're not putting that Tryon budget in there, even if
it is in
Oh.
the CRA budget. It is in the total of this budget.
which line item is it? I'm looking at the budget. I've looked at it, and that's why I'm asking, and I could be wrong, but that's why I'm asking, where is it? And Frank's saying it's not yet. So that's $666,000 that's not in the budget request that's currently sitting in front of us.
Yeah, actually, if I recall, I think that is actually reflected in the revenue section because it is, as Frank described, it is a pass-through through the CRA. All right, so we get the invoice from the Celeste. We turn around and pass that invoice to Broward County. And I think it's under, if I'm not mistaken, it's 381-0001 is the non-operating, excuse me, that's not correct. It is the appropriations, 389-9001, I think is where it comes from.
And it says $0.
No,
So- Yes, I'm looking at it. 389-90-01.
I'm sorry.
Says other
This page
sources.
is put in backwards. So I'm sorry, I was looking at the
I know it's not in there, Frank.
that
I'm
page
just-
is
I'm saying
actually
this, so-
from the patch, that is the patch side of the budget. If you look at the Fund 106, I think that revenue transfer, Frank, you know where?
Frank, can you help him?
As I said a couple minutes ago, it's not in the budget for next year. It's in the current year budget. If the fund, it's not a part of your budget request for next year.
I know it's in 2022, but we're discussing the 2023 budget. That's why I'm asking, where is it in the request, but it's not in there.
So the bottom line is it's not in the budget for next year, and it's in the budget this year, but it has no net impact on the budget. It's just a pass through.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, but just for reality is if it doesn't happen this fiscal year, it will be reappropriated. It'll actually increase next year's budget. It's going to be the same amount of
That's all
revenue,
I'm
same
saying.
amount of expense, and
That's all and that's what I'm trying to say. So where it is like we have this decrease, we don't, because with certain things that are going to roll over, that has not rolled over, that are not in the 2023 budget, that were in the 2022 budget. And so I just want to be very clear when we're doing this, because it seems like we're just throwing numbers to say we're doing more with less, and it's not actually true, because we're going to be using those monies maybe, but it's going to be in that budget to see if we're going to need to be able to spend it or not. And if we don't spend it, it'll go back to the city, correct?
yes.
Okay. Thank you. So when will we know if we need to put it in the budget, or when is this going to be complete? When are our payments complete of that?
The general requirement for the Celeste to invoice us for that $667,000 is the submission of their certificate of occupancy reflecting a completed project.
Okay, when is this scheduled to be completed?
On their current pace, it looks like it would probably be first quarter of next year, of the calendar year 2023.
Okay. Okay, and then the other things is just my potential project that I want to be able to also do that I wrote down. Um, we talk a lot about affordable housing, but we don't really have an affordable housing program currently, other than what we've done in the past. Um, and the rack is going to be restored. Excuse me. The rack is going to be restored sometime, even if it's in the next year or so. So, what are our plans for an affordable housing program? Because I would like to have an affordable housing program, and I know that we have to discuss those properties, and even if we do sell those properties and have a caveat that we can still have an affordable housing program or some type of guidelines that it goes by. So the program first, not dedicating anything to it, but I would like to see an affordable housing program.
Okay, I completely agree with you. And in fact, that was the intention of our reflection of I think it's 12 properties that the CRA owns that are buildable and appropriate for low income and workforce affordable income properties. The way that I have proposed this to you in the past is that instead of the CRA actually building these houses, we need to put those properties out and let people who are accustomed and professional at building affordable housing to do them. And therefore, it takes our need to upfront the money to build these houses with a reimbursement at the sale. It puts us in a less risky position, and it puts these properties in the hands of people who are accustomed and professional at building these income level housing.
Okay, so can you bring us forth an affordable housing program?
Sure.
Does anyone else have an issue with that? Oh, okay, hold on. I see Commissioner Davis line up first. Hold on. Oh, okay. Let me get back to how I'm supposed to do this. Go ahead, Vice.
Thank you. I'm not sure how anybody would like my idea here or not, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about the affordable housing situation and the land that we need to do this with. And I keep going over and over in my mind that the biggest project we could put out there in affordable housing would be to, utilize some of the vacant spaces and move the patch around a little bit and build another, like a Saratoga apartments there where we can put another, I don't know how many units are there, 75, 85 units. And I think that would present us with a lot more opportunity to put in affordable housing in the area that we already have that in. And it would be, I think we could work this out with HUD and so on, that we can make this work. I think using some of the lots that we're not using, not the buildable lots. I think it's a great idea to put the affordable housing in the buildable lots as well. I do believe going out to bid on those is the right way to do it, because we should not be. I think we can make it work, and there's so many programs that we can probably make those work like that. But I just feel that we can either shorten up the patch area a little bit and utilize the space up front that's sitting there vacant. That's like maybe a parking area, but we could put another whole building there. And that's just my opinion, because I believe in affordable housing, but you have to be able to afford the land, and that's our land, and we can surely give it up for affordable housing. So that's just my opinion. So something for us to think about. Maybe Michael can do a presentation toward the board here, bring it up to us, and maybe have a better idea. I'm just throwing a number out there. That's all.
If I may
Thank
respond.
you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Vice Chair, in fact, we are exploring what the opportunities may be. I will tell you that the land configuration of the patch is deceiving, because it's actually what you visualize as the area of the patch is actually encroaching on the next door neighbor properties. The patch itself is approximately 1 acre of an extraordinary configuration. It's approximately 80 feet wide and 625 feet long. So the point of that is, in terms of a garden style Saratoga type development, that property is not very conducive to that. However, and I don't want to leave this here, however, it is a piece of land that has opportunity. And just this past week, Manager Garcia and I have had some discussions. We're going to look at some opportunities where there could be some alternatives to consider for patch operations and so forth. And if in fact we can identify that, we'll bring it to you to consider what their options might be for the patch. So that's not off the table by any means.
I also,
Go ahead. I can finish when you.
okay, so, another thing too, is there's a lot of land that I don't know whether or not, like when we go to, some of the, I'm not sure how the owners of some of the land that's over on the vacant areas there, but, sometimes if we were able to maybe sell the vacant lots out, maybe take that money to purchase a larger parcel of land, maybe some of the landowners there might be flexible to sell that land and we can build a nicer, bigger project. I mean, I know like on First Street that I think this First Street and Dania Beach Boulevard go right across there, and I saw another sign up for sale. We could probably buy a 2-acre spot there if we could sell those 12 lots out to somebody else and maybe buy that property and build a nicer unit there. I mean, I'm just looking at all the alternatives that we have, but I think the affordable housing is important. I just don't know how we're going to do it if we don't have the land to do it. That's all.
And on
And
top
12
of
houses doesn't seem to be enough as far as I'm concerned.
on top of that, we've had money in the budget for the last 2 years for land acquisition. Have we done anything with that?
Not yet, but I think
So we have
that
money.
what you described is something that will certainly come into play.
Well, I think we need to get into negotiations or at least make attempts to go over there anywhere and see if we can pick up, blocks of land that we can start making. I mean, it's a 1, 2 year, 3 project to do this, but we have to be aggressively asking or making the attempt to go on it instead of just talking about it. We always talk about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but I think you need to appoint somebody as a liaison to aggressively start on the top of this list. Say, here we're going after this. This is what the response is. This is how much the price is. It's not for sale. It is for sale, and we'll do something about it. So just keep and just let's move forward. That's all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. We've had that land acquisition and we haven't done anything with that. So, um, where did I stop? Okay, so I wanted to have an affordable housing program created within this budget. I'm not sure it shouldn't. I don't know if it's going to have a cost impact to the budget or not. I didn't write anything down for that, but I think that you should be able to come up with some type of an affordable housing program. So whatever we end up doing, we kind of have a foundation with that. And then another thing, the revitalization of federal highway businesses. If we're talking about doing this arts and entertainment district and that's kind of on the inside, I think that it doesn't match what's on the outside of federal highway. I think there are a lot of businesses on the outside that could benefit from like how we do the revitalization of the homes within the community. I feel like we can have a program or a project that does that with the businesses on the outside, even if that's with painting or anything else, because we can talk about the facade grants, but the facade grants we haven't had a participant of the facade grants in about a year and a half. So I would like to just put money. I'll listen to you, but I would like to put money in this budget and I don't have the details. You can come up with the plan and everything else, but we need to do something for our businesses to eliminate that slum and blight that is right here that are eyesores on federal highway. If that is, doing different types of facelifts or whatever, or painting, I just feel like I want to put around $100,000 into it so we can really make an impact. If we're going to build up the insides of them, we need to be able to build up the outsides. Go ahead, you turn your thing on. Go ahead.
Hey, Michael, you know what I like, and with the permission of the board here, I'd like each meeting at the CRA to come up with a small project, whether it's a $5,000 project or $10,000 project, as far as what you just got done saying about, Chair, about bring it to us and let's take that project. Let's vote on it. Let's move forward and get something done one at a time. At least get something moving. That's what I'm asking.
That's fine. You can do it in that way, but we need to allocate a certain amount of money in the
Well, the
budget.
money is already allocated. It's just it's there for us to vote on. We
We don't
talked
have
about
any
this.
money in the budget. This is my request to add. This is a project that I want to add, and this will be all of us collectively, but add money to this budget so that we can have. This is something that I feel like is necessary. You feel like it's necessary, but we need to allocate funding to it. So, are we okay with allocating money, and
As
then we
long
can
as
do it
it's in
that
the,
way?
as long as it's up to the
Well-
finance director if we have it to allocate.
Well, you all told me that I wasn't gonna have this problem when I came back, and I said I wanted to do projects.
I didn't say that. All I said to you was that we would discuss the projects, but we have to find out if it's in the
Come on,
budget.
Frank. because I know
If
what
the
I
money,
heard.
I mean, you
I
can't,
knew
you
I was
can't
gonna
take your
deal with this.
$2 and add 1 to it and make it 3.
I left my magic wand at home tonight. I'm sorry. Otherwise, I'd be happy.
So did we not discuss when I said I wanted to have projects and you said, oh, we can just put the money from the
No.
general funds and we'll have to do budget transfers and all those things.
It's the discretion of the city commission. If you want to allocate funds from the city's general fund or reserves and transfer them to the CRA.
How much you looking for?
$100,000 to be able to do it. I don't know how much it's going to cost. Not saying we have to use
But
it.
can I say something to that?
Yeah, we're having
So
discussion.
we also talked about the fact that when we were talking about the budget, that we were I said, let's just pass the budget, let's move forward. We also have the opportunity to vote on whether we want to proceed with whatever the project comes up. If we don't want to do it, that money may or may not be used. At that point, if we don't use it, that money may still be in the budget to do your project. And if it doesn't, we can always come back and ask for the money for the general funds. But if you think, because once it's in the budget, then it's in the budget. And then if we, and it's okay with there too. If we put it in the budget and we don't use it, can it go back to the general funds for next year or be reallocated?
Yes.
Okay, either way, I'm fine. Makes no difference.
Yeah. The money would be earmarked for that program. If it's not used,
As long as we vote on the program, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we don't have the specifics of the program. That would be up to Mr. Chin to put
Well, that's
that
why I was
together.
saying that I hope he brings those projects to us for us that get us excited enough to say, let's do it.
That's fine. If not, the money will go back.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yes. Board Member Llewellyn.
Thank you. But here's my question with regard to that. Do we need to? I'm sorry. This is still on the same topic. That's why I raised my hand. I knew you had something else you said. So anyway, my question with that though is, do we need to put that into the budget now, or is it something that we should, as projects come up, then we discuss them, we vote on them, and then we look to see where the funds are going to come from?
I have an answer to that, and it kind of relates to the 500,000 that was transferred from that Smith store money. We moved the money over with no real plan of what to do, and now it's just sitting there. And I would hate to do the same thing and move money over, and then we don't have a plan right now, and then for whatever reason it doesn't get scoped out. So my recommendation would be to make this a priority of the CRA for this coming year, maybe just first quarter of the fiscal year, to come up with a plan for that corridor, and then determine how much money you want at that point in time, and then we can look at doing a transfer from the general fund. It's actually easier and it's cleaner that way than having to amend our proposed budget, which is on the agenda later tonight for the city commission. And it gives you time to develop a plan and figure out exactly what you really want to do and how much you need.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So I mean, you want to keep it as clean as possible. And if we don't know what we're going to do with it yet, it just seems silly to move it over at this point.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't really know what we're going to do what's in this budget, and we don't have complete plans, and we're passing them. So, I mean, it's very selective. I mean, I just don't want to come back every project and then transfer $5,000 here, $5,000 there. No, just like we said in our budget, we're gonna do things for. We're gonna come up with a program for our residents who have this, that, and the third. We're gonna allocate a certain amount. We don't have the specific plans for that, and we're still allocating monies for that. I feel like we can't propose any programs because we got the budget too late, and it's now we're getting the short end of the stick as people who are supposed to be setting priorities for the CRA because we got the budget the same day that we have to pass the city's budget. That's ridiculous. Go ahead. No, Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
Well, thank you all for being so kind and patient. I just had a couple of questions here for Michael, and I guess some things that we talk about, and really I feel like we go back and we say something different each time. So I want to start off with the Incubator Program, and I'd like to get some more of the projected time frame. I know the last time I think the board chair, we asked about the specifics of the program. I know we're just in the process of getting it passed, but as far as, you know, what the logistics are for the program, when they would like to start the program, the time frames, and how long and how much of the building would be used and for when. So I wanted to get the projected time frame on the incubator first, if we could.
Yes. If approved tonight, in talking with Sky Spaces, which is the destination for the proposal, They say that it's likely we can have occupancy by the first week of November. In the memo that I provided to you as a cover to this, I guess, membership agreement is what they're calling it. In that proposal, I actually did put in the FIU schedule for 2022,
Okay.
as well as their schedule for 2023. Basically, they were looking to have again, broadly, they're looking to have two 14-week incubator cohorts per year. According to their current schedule, they're looking to actually do tryouts, if you will, and applications, and have meetings with prospective candidates for the program for the remainder of this year, with the idea of the actual market, the cohort for the incubator being from January to April of 2023. But it takes several months of ramp up and meetings and basically activities and events to draw candidates in that are qualified for the cohorts. And that's what's expected for the rest of 2023, as well as workshops for small business to help apply for small business loans and other programs that are evolving in the federal government to assist small businesses. And I can tell you, these programs are not the typical programs that you would find under, let's say, for the decade under Small Business Administration, SBA. These are new programs that the federal government are rolling out continuously, trying to be sensitive to the needs of small business surviving post-COVID. And so a lot of meetings and a lot of things for the rest of this year is all about training businesses how to access and apply for those.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The other thing that came up was the patch and doing different things with the patch. Now, I've heard several different conversations, but the last thing that I remember is with this board is that we were going to have a patch master plan, that we were going to have a consultant, and that consultant was going to come back to us and give us the ideas and give us what the possibilities and how the patch could reach its greatest potential. So now we're back here again, and I'm hearing several different ideas about the patch again. And so what I would like to do is see why we moved forward with what we originally spoke about. I would like to do that because people have great ideas, but we're not the experts in this. And so I would really like to see what we said we were going to do get done.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak to that. The CRA plan update consultants, their scope of work was expanded to include a strategic plan for the patch. And it wasn't just one plan, but rather to do kind of an overall analysis of what might be some options for the patch site as it stands. Actually, I expect in the next week or two to be coming to the CRA board to set up a workshop for you to review the draft of that plan. They're just now starting to publish the first draft for examination, and we want to make sure you're part of that evaluation and have comments to it. I can tell you, and Chair James, I actually very much appreciate your thought about trying to find ways to spruce up and make our federal highway corridor more engaging, because that was a conversation that I had with our consultants. I've actually asked them to develop programs and strategies to help us do that, including conversations with FDOT, because remember, one of our, I guess, hurdles in dealing with federal highway is that everything is so controlled by FDOT. But I have checked. FDOT will allow us to do murals and paintings and so forth, as long as they are not advertising oriented. And our VHB consultant for the plan update, I think, is going to have some strategies of how we can implement that type of program to beautify and put the Arts District flavor right on federal highway within FDOT regulations.
And that was my last comment, is that I agree with the mayor's idea too.
Yes.
I think activate the front of the house to attract the back of the house. Because if it just looks
Absolutely.
like the same from the front, then nobody's going to want to come to the back. But if you beautify the front, then I truly believe that we will. People say, "What's going on here?" And then they will,
Absolutely.
want to go
Well,
to the back. So
I don't have the draft of the plan yet to tell you how they've addressed it, but I can tell you it was discussed with them specifically to come up with some ideas of how to enhance that federal highway corridor.
Okay.
excellent.
If I may, Mayor, I
We have a few more minutes, just really quickly, because
real quick. I think the $70,000 for assessing the back of the house, I think maybe that could be stretched in talking to the individual of the firm to also assess the front of the house and do it in phases. So just have to complete the front and the back assess and just do it in phases. That's just
I like that.
okay, I'll bring my other projects. So I guess I won't ask that you all support these projects right now since it's not going to be clean, but I am bringing them back next CRA meeting to be. I want to be very clear and on record that I'm bringing them back for funding next CRA meeting to include. I also had the patch there to include. I was going to ask about the master plan. We still need that improved parking for ADA issues, planning opportunities, the shed. I know that those things are being taken care of right now. Educational opportunities, because there's a lot of people still at the patch. I still compost and take down there. I don't know how much you all frequent the patch, but I'm trying to, be a good steward of the things that we have in house. So I'll be coming back with my 3 potential projects to be voted on next meeting, and I'll send some information, or I'll have Maxine or Tom send some information to you all, or put it in the backup so we can be prepared to have that discussion and make a decision. Yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, as long as you bring that back up with some idea of what the cost factors are and do your due diligence on that too, because I will not be in favor of just throwing money there without knowing what it's all about.
That's fine.
Okay, I mean, I'm all for what you said.
I'm
But I mean,
going to.
but by doing it that way, though, we're doing the same thing that Michael, as you're doing yourself right now. You're asking for something without a backup. I want to be sure that everything, and I'm all for all these projects. I'm all for doing the better things, but I also want to know what the cost factors are before we start reallocating the budget money to something different. That's all.
That's fine. We just need to be consistent with the city's budget and the CRA's
Okay,
budget,
let's
because
do-
that's not the practice that we do
Okay,
currently.
well, we need to make a good practice here. Let's go. You're in
All
charge.
right, so I'll work with Mr. Chin to come up with a number
There you
that
go.
he's comfortable with, so no one thinks it's just me putting money, because I'm not gonna be actually doing the program myself, so
Okay.
that'll be that. Everyone's okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
We vote on anything?
yes, we have the consent agenda. Do we have any pulls? I have to pull it now.
I make a motion, we pass the consent agenda. Consent agenda.
All right, all in favor? Anyone opposed? No proposal for bids. Board member comments. Board member Davis.
Yes, I will just quickly say congratulations to Keisha and Kathleen and the entire CRA for the awards that you guys have received for the CRA. So let's give it up for our team that's received the awards. Thank you for your diligent work for all the festivals. You do make us proud for all of those. And then lastly, Dania After Dark, I was able to attend this time, and it was really a beautiful event. And I think it's just getting better every month. So kudos to you guys. A lot more people are coming out and just gathering around and sitting with their families and truly enjoying the setting. The music was amazing this week. So thank you, and congratulations on another great and successful Dania After Dark. And with that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Llewellyn.
I'm going to defer comments until the city commission meeting.
Thank you, Board Member Ottman.
No comments tonight. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
But
Just
again,
stop pushing.
yes, I only have one comment. Keisha, you did a great job up there on Dania After Dark. I think you need to be up there a lot more and psych out all the residents of Dania, because you've got that motivation up there. And I think you bring a lot of element to what motivates, pumps, and gets everybody excited out there, Dania Dark. I appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you. And again, I want to echo the sentiments and congratulate Keisha and Kathleen and going up there. And they're always winning these sensational awards on behalf of the CRA. Over 40 something awards. I know there has to be a record somewhere. So enjoy it. Congratulations. You make us all look good. And with that, meeting adjourned.